Okay, so we're going to go through the installation of Xubuntu on real hardware. And you can see this is 20.4 LTS, the very newest release that just came out. It uses the Calamaris installer. We're going to go ahead and install all the third-party software and the updates so that we'll be finished with that. When the installation is over, all the updates will be done for us. We'll put a system monitor up there, a network monitor up there, so we can see which one of those settings it used. And it wasn't that one. It's that one. So let's continue. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to create 4 partitions since we're in UEFI mode: EFI, swap, a root, and a home partition. The Calamaris installer is just the bomb. Even somebody that doesn't know a whole lot about computers can, I think, can install using Calamaris fairly easily, especially if you just let it do all of this by itself. Alright, let's select our country, time zone, give it a name, create a password. I'm not going to log in automatically. And the installation is on the way. Now you see it says almost finished copying files. So while I was doing that other stuff, it was already working on the install. And the taskbar, or what I call the taskbar, is at the top. You see the installed software by default is pretty sparse, which I like that, provided it works. And I wasn't sure, I didn't know at the time when I would use Simple Screen Recorder here, the video pulse, or not pulse, but Parole audio player would not play it. So I'm going to stick in a USB drive is what I'm going to do there, and we're going to copy this installation over to that USB drive before I reboot. And that way you get to see everything from the beginning to the end. And in this video, we're going to install Xubuntu. Then we're going to install Ubuntu-Studio, which I shied away from the Ubuntu Studio, because it only has or I thought at the time, it only had the KDE Plasma desktop. And like I said, I can get around in it, but it's not my preferred desktop. So there's our partitions that it made for us: SDA 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I can see that USB drive. Now I realize that it's there, it's just not showing up, and it's the setting. Continue testing. And got my USB mounted. We're going to make a folder called for Xubuntu SSR, and that's where I'm going to stop this video and save it. And I'll be back. Okay, hello there, I'm Dennis. And in this video, we're going to talk about Xubuntu. Xubuntu is an official fork of, or release of, Ubuntu, which just hit the internet with all their new releases. So I've installed Xubuntu on this hard drive here, on this computer, and we'll look at that in a second. But what I want to do, I've always been interested in the Ubuntu Studio, and I don't know how to say this. I've watched a lot of chat rooms, like the Linux Saloon, things like that over the last 4 or 5 years, and I have yet to hear anybody say, "Oh yeah, I run Ubuntu Studio, and I use that for all my recording in the studio. And I've seen some what they would call an audio file, and even they never mentioned Ubuntu Studio, and it's always puzzled me. Well, if I went to before I installed Xubuntu, which is XFCE on top of Ubuntu, by the way. And after I installed it, I was looking at Ubuntu Studio, and it's overwhelming for me. It just offers way too much stuff that I could, in reality, use. And but I've always been interested in it, and I've wondered why people don't install it. And when I looked, it says Ubuntu Studio uses the Plasma Desktop by KDE. I'm not a big Plasma KDE fan. I can use it, and I can navigate around in it, but it's not my favorite. I like XFCE, and that's kind of always stopped me from trying out Ubuntu Studio. So I read right here, it says, if you don't want the KDE Plasma Desktop, use the Ubuntu Studio Installer. Let's click on that. Well, let me go back real quick. It says official Ubuntu flavor, they call it. And right here it is, along with their other ones. It is an official flavor, so we'll click on the installer here. And it says, once you have your official flavor installed and you want to change it to the Ubuntu Studio, we just need to run this command right here. And it's going to install some other things like Studio Controls. And if you open up that link, it'll show you the GitHub link. And if you come down here and click on the home page, you'll get actually a lot more information about what it's doing and how to use it a little bit. So let's go back to here, and we'll just right click and copy that and bring up my terminal. Let's see, fetch NXI. Run them both here. And you can see I'm running the Xubuntu 22.04, the LTS 64-bit architecture. It's on a quad-core Intel Core i5 processor. Let me go here. I want to bring up my notes real quick. I was kind of flabbergasted a little bit. FFmpeg is not installed by default. You can imagine my shock when I tried to use FFmpeg just to see if it worked, and it said the FFmpeg wasn't there, so I had to install it. But once I did it, it works. I just thought that was a very a rarity for me. It was. Every distribution that I have installed has FFmpeg. I think. I might be wrong, but I think. So let me bring up a terminal. And what we're going to do here, we are going to install Ubuntu Studio Installer. If you want to run the JackD with real-time priorities, the user starting JackD needs the real-time permissions. Accept this option. To create the file, etc security limits the audio.conf, granting real-time priority and memlock privileges to the audio group. Running JackD with real-time priority minimizes latency, which is pretty important, but may lead to complete system lockups by requesting all available physical system memory, which is unacceptable in multi-user environments. Enable real-time processing. I'm going to do that. Alright, so let's go back to the web page here. It says once you do that, go to the menu and find the launcher, and we'll do that. Looks like we're through. Should be able to close that out and go to my menu here. That was, just type in Studio, Ubuntu Studio Installer, which is there, is what you see here. And it says click on them here to install them. Whatever you click on here is you are going to install. We can also enable backports, which I'm going to do. And it tells you how to do that right here. Let me minimize this. Here's the window we were just looking at. You can get the low latency kernel, studio low latency settings, which all that's very important if you're in a studio and you need everything to be no latency or very low. Ubuntu Studio audio, graphics, photography, publishing, video. You can even get some wallpapers, menu, and the audio plugin host. Now here, let's see, one of these says, well, maybe not here. Somewhere we'll have the option to change the branding. I thought it was in here. Maybe it's Ubuntu video package. No. Wallpapers, menu for Ubuntu Studio. So I'm only going to get, that's a lot of stuff. So I'm going to leave the low latency stuff off of there. Performance tweaks I'd like. Audio and graphics. Graphics not so much. Photography not so much. Publishing not so much. Video for sure. The audio plugin host. So we're going to enable backports as well. Say OK. Taking a second to work there. I can see through my network down there that it reached out to touch something. Okay, there we go. Alright, now it should say this should, oh, I got to pick it again. So audio, video. Let's get some wallpapers. I want to get graphics as well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and say installed packages. And I'm sure this is going to take a little while. Somewhere along in here, like I said, though, you'll have the opportunity to actually change the branding from Xubuntu to Ubuntu Studio. I'm not going to do that. I want to know that I'm in Xubuntu but can use the studio stuff. So I'm going to pause this video and I'll be back when it's finished. So I'm going to come on back. It's about 2/3 of the way finished there. I wanted to real quickly, if it'll let me, go over my menu and see if it's done any changes, going to do any changes or not. So I have removed most of their favorites and I've put mine in here. You'll notice simple screen recorder. It's a snap package. And the other one, the unofficial one as they called it in their discovery store or software store, wouldn't work. It would work, but I had nothing that would play. I even put it on a USB drive, stuck it in another machine, and it still wouldn't play the recording. So I don't know what was messed up with it. So I ended up installing a simple screen recorder as a snap package, and it does work. I just thought it was weird that I was almost forced to use a snap package. Let's see, system monitor. That's not going to be really true because it's working here hard. It's 2.8 gigabytes of RAM usage, about half of the CPU. Alright. I have made some slight changes in the About Me. If it'll open, I tried to put a picture in there. The appearance, I've made some changes here. Graybird dark. Just some little changes that I want to make sure that this new stuff coming in may change some of these settings, and that's why I'm looking at them now to see what I had set. Pulse audio, volume control, and sound. That must have come in already with that. Close that out. And let's see, under multimedia, Wow, that's what I've got some screenshots of the old menu that I had here. I didn't install a bunch of stuff, mainly because I wanted to keep it as stock XFCE as I could and still be able to record this video. Now, I did try to use FFmpeg, and for some reason I changed video cameras 3 times and 3 different ports. And 2 of the cameras were identical, and one of the cameras is the one I'm using now, and I just really couldn't get a clean, clear picture. And I'm just hoping this video works out. So I see it's unpacking stuff, and my network monitor down there is saying that there's no internet activity, so it must have downloaded what it needed to, and it's going to install it. Alright, let's see. Let me pause the recording again, and I'll be back. Yeah, I want to point out that I may have to reboot, at the very least log out, which means I'll have to stop the recording and restart it. So just wanted to throw that out there. Okay, so it looks like we're getting really close. The progress line there is getting pretty close. Go back to the web here. I want to go to the studio controls. It says your distribution may already have a package you can install. For instance, Ubuntu, Fedora, and Arch are known to have a package. Studio controls. Ubuntu, to obtain the newest version, add the Ubuntu Studio backports, and that's one of the reasons why I did that. If you're running a different official flavor of Ubuntu, then Ubuntu Studio controls installs with the Ubuntu Studio installer. If for some reason it doesn't, sudo apt install studio-controls. Using it for many people, the use of studio controls is straightforward. However, if Jack is new to you or you want to go deeper, there is an outline manual. And here it is. And I'll make sure this link gets in the description. Let's see where we're at here. Should be pretty close. Building, installing selected packages, processing the triggers. In order for this user to have RT access for audio applications, a log out and log in needs to be performed. And it's finished. We go back to that. We could actually did this one at a time. We could redo the thing, but I'm going to exit and I'm going to shut everything down, reboot, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're back. It installed OBS Studio for me, so I'm using that rather than Simple Screen Recorder. For some reason, Simple Screen Recorder would not pick up the microphone. I put it under Pulse Audio. It wouldn't recognize it. The only option that I had that would work, or seemingly appeared to work, was the one called Jack. And when I clicked on that and then tried to start, it would say errored out, and it wouldn't even play it back even if I did record it. So let's look and see what we've put in our menu. Can I move this? Yeah. So under graphics, we got Blender, Document Scanner, GIMP, Inkscape, Color Chooser, Krita, that came in with the studio. My Paint, Pico Pixel, which is a image editor, Ristretto, that's a default XFCE. Synfig Studio, create and edit 2D animations and compositions. We shouldn't have got anything from the internet. Under multimedia, now here it loaded up. Organ Emulator. Music and audio production session manager based on NSM. Agordejo, music and audio production session manager. This is the reason why I've never actually installed Xubuntu Studio or Ubuntu Studio. First of all, it came with KDE Plasma. I stopped right there. I didn't read on, and this could be actually a new feature. I don't know. Well, it's just overwhelming with all the stuff that you get. And I'll never use this stuff. And now, if I was in a studio a lot of this stuff I would use back when my day when I was doing some recording. I actually made a CD. I don't tell many people that, but I actually made a CD, and I was able to actually sell some. So people did like it. Anyway, during those days, I would have gladly had something like this. I was doing most of my recording on the computer and using, it was called Adobe Audition, and before that it was called Curated Pro, and that's what I used. And then I would have to record everything and then go back, and each track I would have to apply my filters or whatever, manipulate the track, and then I have to go back and mix down those tracks and make sure everything was perfect, so it would take forever. But with here, you're getting a lot of stuff. There's that studio controls. I hope that don't mess anything up. Real-time permissions enabled. Start or restart jack. Stop jack. Apply audio settings. A lot of stuff. Jack master settings. You could get lost in this for sure. We'll just close out of that before I mess up my recording. Go back to multimedia. That's where we took the most of the stuff. Audacity came in. That was not here. Carla, we actually chose that. Carla Control. DG Edit. Eco Mixer. NV 24 Control. I'm just going to let you read this. GUVC View, I installed that. Mixer. LMS, Kdenlive came in. Let's see, I'm going to open that up and see if it works. 21.12.3, I think that's the latest. And I'll be sorely disappointed if it will not show a wave. Wow, it's even got some pre-configured stuff. Let's add a clip. And let's see. Go back to home. This right here is where I actually installed Xubuntu. And we're going to switch to 30 feet per second. And so far, I don't see an audio wave. Now, there may not even be one on this clip, though. Let me get out of that clip. Remove this clip. Let's find another one. I know part one of this video, that would be in right here. No. What happened to it? Not showing. It's right there. Add clipper folder. Home folder. Huh. We don't have support for MKV. Let's try this another way. Grab it right here. Pull it over to there. Now I put it in that time, but it wouldn't even see it. I do see audio. Nice. So this is the part one of what we already did. Let's see if we can hear it.
Okay, hello there.
Nice. We got a wave. Everything looks good. And like I said, this is, I'm pretty sure 21.12.3 is the latest version. Close this out. So that works. Nice. So I mean, there's some tools in here that a guy could use that's just a normal creator like myself. And I said normal very loosely. That was probably the wrong word. There is a lot of stuff in multimedia here, and you could probably take a week on every category. But like I said again, well, I'll say it again, for a guy that was working in a studio, I don't know that because I have been in a lot of chat rooms and been listening, and I've actually done YouTube searches on Ubuntu Studio, and there's some videos out there about it, but nobody, like I said, nobody that I've heard personally says, okay, I use Ubuntu Studio, and I use it because the Eco Mixer is the best there is, or Geon Kick, or Hexter, or none of those things. I've never heard anybody. I'm not saying there's none out there. I'm just saying I personally have not seen those. I don't know. I wish I had. And I just got overwhelmed for, like I said, consider myself a typical home user, computer user, and I do creations or video creations, but this is way over what I would actually need. It comes with Voco screen. Nice. So we got OBS Studio, we got Voco screen. Let's see, was there another recorder in here? QuinnFF, that's a front end for FFmpeg. So FFmpeg would have more than likely came in with Ubuntu Studio, whereas it did not come in with Xubuntu, which was a real shocker to me. Maybe that many people don't use it. That could have been the reason why I couldn't play back that video. Let me show you that. Let's go back to that video part. This is the one that I recorded the actual installation. Parole Media Player is their default player. If I open that up, it's just going to freeze and won't even play it. And maybe I can get out of here. Encode. See this weird thing? But if I open it up in VLC Player, it works just fine. And my recording might have just stopped. No, it's still going. That's going to wrap it up before one of these settings is not working right or something. I hope it's still working. I just wanted to find out that did work. And if we go in here and we say install, we see the Ubuntu Studio Installer. So if there was something that you wanted to check out, and actually you can see the ones that's installed are not listed anymore. If you needed a low latency kernel, and if you was in a studio, you more than likely would. Latency was one of my biggest problems when I was creating audio. And I didn't have none of these. All I had was Windows XP and what I could get with that. One of these did say about changing the branding, but I don't see it now. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Ubuntu Studio. If you're really into in a studio environment, this may be the greatest, biggest thing for you. I don't know. I do know there's a lot of stuff on here or there is some things on here that I could actually use, but there's a whole lot I'll never even open up. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Peace out. Y'all have a great one. Bye.